Sources told ESPN's Jeremy Fowler that the Cowboys and free agent running back Ezekiel Elliott are open to a reunion. Zeke spent the first 7 years of his career in Dallas, where he led the league in rushing twice and made 3 Pro Bowls. We got Shannon Sharpe here. We got Stephen A here. Stephen A, I'm going to start with you. Zeke returning to the Cowboys, big deal or no deal?
Well, I think it's a big deal, only from this standpoint. I don't think he's done. The reality is that when he was there a couple of years ago, the Dallas Cowboys had the top red zone offense in the National Football League. Last year was 14th. This dude, I mean, when you look at it, 12 red zone touchdowns in his last year in Dallas and 642 yards rushing last year in New England. That's more than the 4 running backs that Dallas have on their roster combined. I think it's a big enough deal, Shannon.
I agree with you, Stephen A. I think he helps on short yardage and goal line situation because that's where the Cowboys struggle. 3rd and short, 4th and short in the red zone because they were unable to run the football effectively, and so they were reliant on Dak throwing the football and put themselves in harm's way. So I think it's a nice deal. Is it earth-changing? Is it earth-shattering? No, Stephen A. But I do think that gives them the balance that they needed because they thought Pollard was the answer. They didn't realize it was Ezekiel Elliott wearing the defense down. Now Pollard comes in. Those guys are tired. He hits a crease. Now you give Pollard that increased workload. He wasn't able to sustain it. He's moved on to Tennessee, so I do think it would be a great reunion.
I do think it could end up being, I wouldn't say the words earth-shattering, but far more significant than you're willing to admit, Shannon, if the other dudes do what they're supposed to do. And it comes down to Ezekiel Elliott doing what he does in red zone and short yardage situations. I think having him there helps in that regard only. But in the end, if the rest of the Cowboys are doing what they're supposed to be doing, it could be far more significant than we realize.
No. When you say other Cowboys, you need one name, Dak.
Dak Prescott.
You need Dak to do what he needs to do. You're not worried about CD. I love the tight end situation, the offensive line. Okay, you can move Tyler Smith back out to left tackle where he was playing left guard last year. He did a great job his rookie year. The defense should be as good, if not better. Micah is going to be raring to go because he wants that big contract.
Okay, first off, Pollard got injured. Okay, and he was never able to make a full recovery and get back to what he was. So to say that it was all that Ezekiel Elliott was just wearing down the defense and that's why is just not fair. I mean, that's just not really the full story. Is it maybe some of it? I don't know, maybe sure, but that's not the full picture. And I think that's disingenuous just to throw that out there, right? And to say that Pollard just wasn't good enough and that it was all Ezekiel Elliott. You know, I reject that. Now, the whole idea of getting Ezekiel Elliott back, here's the reality. Will it help the Dallas Cowboys for, to a degree? Sure. You know, Ezekiel Elliott isn't a complete scrub. He is a Cowboy. But you know what? When you get let go and you come back, it does change your presence in the locker room. Ezekiel Elliott will not have the same status in that locker room that he once had. And that's kind of an issue. Because that locker room is already struggling. They barely already respect their leader in Dak Prescott. Micah Parsons and Diggs, they don't even respect Dak. And so that's why they even want to bring Zeke, because they know Dak and Zeke are real close. And that's like kind of his extra buddy. But Ezekiel Elliott isn't good enough right now. Ezekiel Elliott, they need that dude. That's what they need. The Cowboys can't afford to just marginally get better. Okay? They need to get significantly better. Were they just an Ezekiel Elliott away from not only making the Packers game in the playoffs competitive, let alone beating them? No. Were they just an Ezekiel Elliott away from being able to compete with the 49ers? No. They're not. Are they just an Ezekiel Elliott away from being able to beat the Baltimore Ravens, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills? No. So this is one of those moves that can feel good, especially if you're a Cowboys fan and you love Ezekiel Elliott. But if you're a true fan and you're really holding the Cowboys organization and Jerry Jones' feet to the fire and saying, what are you doing? We want to win a championship. Let's go. This is not the move to make. It can be a move, but so far it's shaping up to be the move. Oh, hey, by the way, we had Saquon Barkley on the market who, nope, didn't want him. Derrick Henry, who came out and said they didn't even reach out to me. But no, we're going to go get Ezekiel Elliott now. A way and obvious past his prime running back. So I'm just not really understanding where this is going to actually be a big deal for the Cowboys. That it's actually going to be earth-shattering or help the Cowboys in a true, measurable way. The Cowboys can't beat good teams. Dak Prescott can't beat good teams. He has a losing record against teams with a winning record. And that's even with Ezekiel Elliott in his prime. He played 7 seasons with the Cowboys. What did they do? Did they make it to an NFC Championship game? Did they make it to the playoffs? Did they make it to a Super Bowl? So sure, maybe if you get him on like a minimum deal and you make some true moves come time draft, okay. But the Cowboys need to significantly upgrade. They were clearly exposed last season as not being good enough. They are not on the same level of the 49ers. They are not on the same level as the Detroit Lions. They are not on the same level as the Kansas City Chiefs, as the Texans, as the Buffalo Bills, of the Philadelphia Eagles this season now, especially. Now that they got their OC and DC coordinators right and Jalen Hurts is going to be healthy. So you just got to ask yourself, what are you expecting from the Cowboys? What do you want out of the Cowboys? Because if you want the Cowboys to actually win a Super Bowl, these are not the moves. Sure, it would have been maybe made sense to get a Derrick Henry or a Saquon and also get a Zeke to get some of that presence there. To be like, okay, we got our run game legit. We don't have to empty the tank on Saquon and waste him on any of these short yardage gains. That way we can preserve him, or Derrick Henry for that matter. Maybe if you got Derrick Henry, then you definitely wouldn't need Ezekiel Elliott. But you could make the argument that getting Saquon and then having, Zeke here and there to kind of, distribute the load, so to speak, more situational for Ezekiel Elliott would be beneficial. But they're just not making moves. Why didn't they make a move for Diggs? You don't think it would have been good to have CD alongside with Diggs? I'm just not sure what they're doing. They need to get way better. They tried to say that making these splash moves don't help your team win. And that's nonsense. Because the Rams made splash moves and got Matthew Stafford. And they got OBJ. How'd that work out for them? Yeah, they won a Super Bowl. The Eagles made a splash move. They already had a number 1 receiver, Devontae Smith. They went out and got A.J. Brown. How'd that work out for them? They won the NFC Championship and went to the Super Bowl. And lost in the last seconds against the dynasty of the Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs to a field goal. So you have to be aggressive. You have to make these moves if you want to win, if you want to be competitive. What did Tom Brady do when he went to Tampa Bay? They kept saying that that team was just a quarterback away from being competitive. And Tom Brady said, yep, and I'm that quarterback. But guess what? We need more. I need Gronk. Not only do I need Gronk, I need AB too. And he needed both those players. And they won. And so the Cowboys always want to do less than the winning teams. And yet they want to win like the winning teams. They want to pay Dak Prescott like he's Patrick Mahomes, even though he's not Patrick Mahomes. And then they want him to win like he's Patrick Mahomes. They go out and get Mike McCarthy and expect him to coach like he's Andy Reid. And he's not Andy Reid. You had the opportunity to get Harbaugh as your head coach. A coach who has won every single place he has been. He has resurrected every single team he's been with. You had a chance to get him to get that. And you were like, nah, we're good. Heck, you're better off at least just rolling the dice on Belichick. I know he's not necessarily a hot commodity in this exact moment, but he still is the Belichick. I would still be more inclined to give him a couple years at the reins rather than giving another year of Mike McCarthy. Are you expecting Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott to just finally catch lightning in a bottle? To just make everything work and somehow they're just going to be this elite team magically? Oh, the first 3 years where they were just getting warmed up. Now that fourth year, they finally got it. Come on. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. So if you're a Cowboys fan, I genuinely feel bad for you. I really, really do. Because I've gotten to know a lot of Cowboys fans, and I know how passionate you are. I know you want the Cowboys to be competitive. You want them to win, and you've been thirsty. It's been 30 years. We saw how much it meant to the Detroit Lions fans just to win a playoff game. And then they found themselves in the NFC Championship game. I mean, think about that. The Detroit Lions did nothing for decades. And yet they were able to find themselves in the NFC Championship game. And they also were a play away from winning the championship and getting into the Super Bowl. And the Cowboys can't even. They get blown out in the first round to the youngest team in like 50 years, to the Green Bay Packers. You got to start taking responsibility for that. You can't just say it's the refs. You can't just say, oh, this player choked. Well, we didn't have good enough players. The whole season, you guys said that you were on the level. You guys have been bragging about how you win in 12-plus games a season for 3 seasons in a row. You're either a great team or you're not a great team. Which is it? Because if you're a great team and you're winning all these games, that means Jerry Jones is great at putting together a great team. But then the moment you lose, you just said, Jerry Jones, we got to get rid of Jerry Jones. And then on one minute you say, Dak Prescott's an amazing quarterback, but then he can't play big in big games. So you got to make up your mind. You either have a good team or you don't. You either have a great quarterback or you don't. It can't be both. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.